Dominique. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. So I'm just going to kind of briefly discuss kind of what she went over. I have been a realtor for about 13 years. I started at Coldwell Banker in Oakland with my husband. We were a team, and we were top producers there. And it wasn't until a few years in, I decided that I wanted to branch my knowledge in the industry world. So I tried to go the loan route. I wasn't very interested in that. I started taking appraisal classes, and that's when I noticed like that sparked my interest. So it takes you have to have about 1,200 hours of appraisal experience in order to take the state test. So it literally takes you about 2.5, 3 years to actually become licensed. So I ended up doing that, and I was with Rocket Mortgage. Because Rocket Mortgage does not require you to also be a realtor at the same time because they produce so much work, I stopped doing buying and selling real estate. I ended up just working with them full time. I left them. Now I have my own appraisal business, Curtis Bay Area Appraisals, where I am on a panel for over 10 lenders and about 15 different AMCs. I am also a certified EXP mentor advisor. I am here in front of you guys because I've been in real estate for a while, but it wasn't until I experienced something very personal when I realized that this is beyond us just buying and selling. This whole process is us actually advocating, and we have to advocate for our clients and for us, right? Because we're also going to put ourselves in positions where we also are going to buy or refi our home. And so during COVID, me and my husband wanted to get a lower interest rate on our loan, and we received an appraisal that was $250,000 less than our previous appraisal that we had 6 months prior. So we went through the whole process. We're in the middle right now. Since the beginning of COVID, we're still in the process of suing the appraiser, the AMC, and Rocket Mortgage. So it wasn't until I realized that redlining still exists. It wasn't until I realized that in certain communities our homes are devalued, and I realized that at this moment it is my duty to talk to other realtors and other people in the industry about how the process works and how it is that we know how to advocate for our clients. And how do we advocate for our clients and ourselves? Well, we do that by actually knowing. How many of you have actually read an appraisal that came in for your clients? Okay, and very few of us, but when we read it, I'm sure we're like, okay, there's like 30 pages here, I don't know. It says this is the value, whatever, right? But we don't really know the extent of what the appraisal really means and how they came to that value. We don't know how they came to the adjustments. We don't know why they put the comparables in there, right? And so after my personal experience, I realized that my calling was more than just being in real estate. My calling was actually advocating for our clients as well. So as realtors, obviously advocating is a big thing that we have to do. And not only just advocating, but it also helps us be better real estate agents. It helps us be better listing agents, buyer's agents, right? So when we're going to a listing appointment, how much time do you normally put into doing your comps? Do you do 10 minutes? 15 minutes, 30 minutes? Do you spend an hour looking for comparable sales to tell them exactly where you think that they should list their house? Anybody want to tell me what is their process and just a quick overview of the process? Yeah.
For me, the timeline kind of varies. It really just depends if I'm able to even find comps. Like, we can be looking at one property and it's like completely different than the other comparable homes that have sold in the market. So it's like a lot of research may be needed depending on the condition of the property, the location of the property. Even if it's like within a 1 mile radius and you're looking at the other side of the freeway though, and it's like completely different compared. So there's like so many moving factors. So there's not really a timeline for me anyway on how long it takes to find the data.
Right. And so she made a good point. Sometimes you will only find one comp. And I never realized that one comp, it might be good. It might be a model match. It might be something, maybe similar. But one comp is not going to give you data that you need at all, right? Because not only are we looking for comparables that are similar, we're also looking for comparables that tell us a story. So comps tell us a story, and what we need to realize is that when you get one comp, it's not telling you if the market is declining, if the market is increasing. It's not telling us that story. We need to make sure we expand our market to give us more than one comp so that we understand and tell our clients, you said your home is worth $900,000. However, this data is telling us that now it's probably worth $850,000 because the market is declining. With that one comp, we can't say whether or not the market is declining or not. So what realtors need and what we need to have is a system of pulling comps. Every time you go into the MLS and you want to pull a comp, it's important to understand that you need the same system every single time, okay? Because what that does is it gives you a precise way of knowing, like, you're not missing anything. You're going in there and you're saying, okay, I'm gonna look at actives first, right? And see what's on the market, see what it's doing, how long are they sitting right now, how's the competition for the actual house that I am looking at. And then you go into, the rest of the system, which we can obviously get in, but you need a system. And if you don't have a system for pulling comps, today is the day. After today, after this class, you will leave and you will make your system. Okay, and we can go over that more, but it's really important to understand without a system in anything, you're not going to be as effective. Not saying you're not effective now, but you can be more effective and you'll feel more confident when you walk into a buyer's consultation or a listing presentation and telling your clients what the market is doing. So it helps us price homes right. Understanding the comps and the appraisal process helps us prevent appraisal issues, and it helps you negotiate. It helps you negotiate for your buyers and your sellers, right? This is just a little housekeeping because I get a lot of questions during my presentations and it throws me off. So just saying that if you have any questions, just write it down. That way we can get through the thing. So what is the comp? A comp is a comparable sale that recently sold to the subject property in its location, size, condition, and features. Now we all know that we really don't have apples to apples, right? It rarely exists. Track homes, you do have model matches, so it exists more there. Like in Manteca, Modesto, you have a lot more track homes. You may find model matches that have sold that are golden, and that's what I love as an appraiser. But we know that that's not necessarily gonna happen. And so going back to comps tell a story, right? Understanding that comps tell a story as a whole, not just exactly not necessarily what is the comps that are just within the subjects, like, oh, this is the most comparable. It's just as a whole. They tell a story as a whole. When you go into a market, you're gonna have some homes that are 1 story, 2 stories, some are, or maybe tri-levels. It doesn't matter. You don't wanna exclude those because it's still within the subject's market, okay? So understanding that you don't have to do apples to apples, but oranges to apples is absolutely fine, just as long as you know when you get down to the nitty gritty of it that you're going to pay attention to the ones that matter the most. So when we talk about location, how many of you guys actually draw your boundary, or do you do a radius?
Draw radius.
Okay, so when you do a radius, what happens? You get a circle, right? You get a big circle. And what that circle does is it'll send you over highways and railroad tracks, and it'll send you over like main streets, right? And as a realtor, I did this. When I first got with, Coldwell Banker, I did radiuses, right? And I'll say, like, my comps probably weren't the best. Like, I winged it. I winged it half the time. I'm not gonna lie. When I was with Coldwell Banker, I winged it. It worked, right? But was I doing my clients, was I giving them the best advice? Probably not, right? But drawing your boundaries is gonna be golden for you. It's gonna be golden in getting you the most precise number, because when I tell you, I get a lot of agents that call me and they say, can you please look at my listing? We listed this for $699. It's sitting on the market. Nobody thinks it's worth this much. What's going on? And so when I tell them to send me information and comps from that they showed their clients, it's literally like on a railroad track and like across the freeway, like nothing, it's nothing comparable. And I can tell you at least 8 times out of 10, I can tell them where they went wrong in pricing the home. Once they give me all the information that they pulled to get to that number, I can tell them exactly where they went wrong and how they need to now decrease the price or, whatever. So drawing your boundaries is important because you don't get the radius. And typically for appraisals, the lender wants you to stay within 1 mile. Anything above a mile, they will ask me, why did you put this comp in that sold 1.1 miles away from the subject property? And I would have to explain, okay? Because they really want you to stay within 1 mile. So it's okay for you to expand 1 mile, just as long as you know you're not, doing something really crazy. And of course, we all know this, staying within similar schools, amenities and desirabilities to your client. So like if your client wants to stay within a school that has like a 9 out of 10, if you're gonna expand to another market, I say for your buyers and stuff, it's important to know that it's okay to do that just as long as the market is showing the same numbers. And then the recency of a sell. So you really wanna stay between 3 and 6 months. A lender allows me, well, I can do whatever I want. I can go 18 months back, right? I can do that if I want to. I just have to explain and I have to do the proper adjustments. But it's okay to go 12 months back. It's absolutely okay. A lot of realtors think, oh my God, there's nothing in 3 months. What am I gonna do? But I tell them to go back 12 months and more comps pull up and it still makes sense, okay? So it's okay to go back 12, ideally 3 to 6. A lender requires me to at least put 2 cells in the report to actually come up with a decent value that are between 1 and 3 months. After that, I got to do an adjustment for if the market is declining or inclining, and I have to adjust up or down. But it's absolutely okay to do 12. Comps age, a lot of people don't realize that putting the comps age into the criteria when you're looking for comps is golden. It's golden because so nowadays, a lot of people are building new builds in neighborhoods, right? So if you're getting market data and you have a 65-year-old home, and within that market, there is a new build, or within that market, somebody completely tore the house down, an investor came and built a whole new house. Now the house is 2023, right? Built in 2023. That new house that was built in 2023 is now in the middle of your market data, which is a completely different price range, right? Because this house is completely new. It was probably built with solar because everything now has to be built with solar. So if you put the age within 10, so if your home was built in 1970, your age would be 1960 to 1980. Do you guys know where that is in your MLS? Have you guys ever seen the age criteria? Yes? Okay, great. So boundaries, 12 months back, and 10 years age, down and up, would be your system. And when you get that, you're gonna realize you're probably within the same builder, you're probably gonna stay within the same square footage, same bed bath count, unless you're in Oakland. Sometimes those neighborhoods are just like, if an Oakland order comes to me, I'm done. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to spend like 5 days on this. But for the most part, for most homes, you'll understand that if you at least put the boundaries, this criteria in, and then your square footage. How many of you put square footage in? And how far up and down do you go? 15, 1,500 up and down. That's pretty big. 500. Okay, yeah, 1,500 is a whole new house. Yeah. Okay, so I stay within 10 to 20% of the square footage. Okay, and so it's usually kind of like 300, 400 up or down, give or take. And how many of you put bed and bath criteria in? Everybody? Okay. I never put bed and bath criteria. Ever. And this is why. Once you put your boundary in for that neighborhood, once you put in 12 months, once you put in the age, once you put in the square footage, it's all gonna come together. I promise you. I did a workshop, which if Daisy and Bill lets me come back, we can do a workshop. And we will do hands-on, we'll pick one house and we'll do hands-on comp criteria. We'll do hands-on comp criteria. And I tell you, all agents, so Christina Pineda, who knows Christina Pineda? She's gonna kill me. Okay, Christina. She called me, oh my God. She said, I can't find any comps. This is crazy. I didn't even think it was in Antioch. And I said, well, what do you have in there? She's like, I have the square footage. I have bed bath count. I said, Christina, take out the bed bath count. She took it out. Oh, I have like 15 comps now. I'm like, okay, great. So basically when you put in bed bath count, it decreases the comps that are in your pool. So what happens is, okay, so rule of thumb, I was just telling somebody here that's a TC, her. We don't adjust for bedroom count for a single family home in the appraisal. We don't. We adjust for square footage. So appraisers say that if you adjust for square footage and bed bath count, you're double dipping. Because you're not gonna have, 1,000 square foot home with 4 bedrooms, right? Like it doesn't, and if it exists, something's wrong, functionally wrong, right? So it's not, the value is gonna absolutely be bad. But we don't adjust for that. And a lot of people get surprised when we say that because we don't like to double dip. So we automatically know if it's a 3 bedroom, you're probably gonna be around like 1,300 square feet or something, right? Like, so once you put in your criteria here, like I said, it's all gonna come together. You're not gonna need bed bath count at all. So never put it in. It only just makes it harder for you, okay? And lot size, I never put in lot size. I never put in lot size because you're gonna realize that most neighborhoods have conforming lot sizes. If most of the neighborhood, if the subject property is 5,000 square foot lot, most of them are gonna be between like 5 and 65, which isn't a big deal, right? Because you're gonna understand that in a neighborhood, they're zoned a certain way, and zoning doesn't allow it to go above, a certain, or like below a certain number. So you're never gonna have to put lot size criteria. This is here. I don't know why this is here. I didn't make this. Sorry. I don't know. But don't look at the end one. So going back to your notes, when you're pulling comps, your cadence is going to be location, which is your boundary. You're drawing your boundary, okay? And then you're gonna go back 12 months with 3 to 6 months preferred because it's gonna be your most reliable market, okay? And then you're gonna put in the comps age, 10 years down, 10 years up from the year built. And then you're gonna stay between 10 and 20% of GLA. You're not gonna put 1,500 square feet above. And then lot size is considered, but we don't add anything to it, okay? It will be adjusted for if something in there is is a lot higher or bigger, but we won't put that into the criteria. And then we all know that you're putting detached, right? I don't have to say that. We're saying detached home or condo or townhouse, correct? And then, so when you're looking for comps for townhouses, are you guys putting in condo as well, or just townhomes? Just townhomes? Okay, good. So if you have a city that is not that big on townhomes or condos, you can absolutely add the both together. Because some townhomes, some condos are townhouse styled, but they're still condos for zoning. Okay, so just a FYI. So what I noticed is the common mistakes about pulling comps is we don't do the work. I don't want to say that we're lazy because that's being negative, but that's a big part of it. And a big part of being a realtor, a successful realtor, is actually doing the work, okay? And so I'm finding that a lot of people you put in your criteria, you get your comps, and what do? How much time do you put into looking at all of the comps? Anybody want to share?
Are you talking about each property or?
Yeah, so say for instance, you pull up your criteria, right? And you have about 20 comps that pulled up from putting in your criteria. How much time are you looking into those 20 comps, just in general? Like how long is it taking you to get through the 20 comps?
With 20 comps, at least an hour or 15 at least.
That's really good. Anybody else doing an hour to hour 15? 20 minutes? Okay. Every time I have to pull comps, I spend hours digging into it, and here's why. An agent puts that the house is 4 bed, 3 baths. Okay. I'm looking through the pictures. I'm seeing like, okay, that's strange. Well, why does this look different? Why does this room look different? And then I start reading the private and public remarks, and I'm realizing that the agent put the ADU bed baths into the actual bed bath count in the MLS. So what does that do? It skews data, right? Because technically the house sold for that amount because there was an ADU there. So if we're not doing the work by looking through all the photos, reading the public private remarks, and looking down on the bottom of the MLS where now they have the ADU section there, we're not doing any justice for a number. We're telling our client, oh my gosh, this sold for $950,000. You can totally get that. But they can't if they don't have an ADU, right? Because it's not comparable. A buyer probably paid about like $50 to $75, maybe $100,000 more for a house because it had an ADU. But because we didn't go into the comp and look at the pictures and realize something was off, our price is off that we're telling our clients. So now we're selling our clients a dream that they can't get. So then you go on the market at $925 thinking they can get, $950, and they can't get that. And now we have to explain to them why, right? Because the highest comp had an ADU. Another thing to pay attention to when reviewing comps is basement count as well. Is the basement square footage being included into the actual gross living area? And if it is, we have to extract that because it's not giving us a precise number and idea of what the market is doing. So when our clients tell us things like, actually I seen this house and it sold for $500,000 and I think I can get that, because we deal with that a lot. So you'll hear me saying a client wants more when they can get less, because I get that a lot. I get it a lot. I get agents calling, asking me what went wrong, what's going on, what can I do to produce an appraisal to say that they can actually get that, when in fact they can't because we didn't do the work. Okay, and then also HOA. It's important that we look at HOA, not just for condos and townhouses, but single family homes also have HOAs. If HOA is in litigation, if HOA is really high for the current market, then it's more than likely that you have to incorporate that into the buyer's final payment. And buyers who are looking at homes that have HOA, they're actually including that into their final payment. So understanding that buyers' buying power decreases when an HOA is too high. And then using active and pending listings incorrectly. Active and pending listings are great because actives tell us exactly what the market is doing. Are homes sitting longer? Are they going within 7 days? What is it that it's doing? And also the pendings. Are homes that were on the market for 100 days now going pending? If so, why? Is it because interest rates drop? Is it because, there's a program out now that buyers are trying to utilize and hop on? What is it that the market is doing? And that's how we use that data. We don't use the data for pending and active sales to tell us where to place our clients. Because a list price is just a list price. So we don't know if the client said, I don't want to list at $599. I want to list at $700 because that's what I want, when they can't get it. And sometimes realtors just do what their clients want, right? Because they want the deal. So they'll just place it there. So not using the list price to guide your clients, but using the list price, the days and everything that goes along with that to kind of guide yourself with your data, but not necessarily guide your clients. Also, there is, does anybody have a cadence with their MLS? Do they have tabs that are in order on your MLS? Like, there's sold, there's dates, there's the address, there's bed, bath count, there's square footage. You guys know all those tabs up there, right? Do you guys clean those up and make it to where it's so easy for you to see what's going on in the market? I do. Daisy? Anybody else?
I've probably set it up once, but.
Okay. That can be another class. We'll do. Okay. I was telling her, I'm like, because she's asking me questions, and I was like, these classes just aren't like, it's like levels to it. So one of the things that I realized when I became an appraiser, that having your MLS set up in a way that is so organized, and you don't realize, like, my MLS has to be organized. Yes, your whole system has to be organized. The way you set up your MLS will guide you to so much success and confidence, because walking into a listing appointment, it's about confidence. Everybody might be saying the same thing you're saying. Yeah, you can sell your house. It'll be off the market in 7 days and all the things. But what's going to win you over? It's your presence. It's your confidence. And I didn't have as much confidence with my listing appointments and my buyers until I knew I had the data. I was like, oh, I got this. I've got this data. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to show them. I'm going to show them my graphs. I'm going to tell them this house sold for $900 and this house sold for $800. And I'm going to tell them why their house can sell for $900 instead of $800, because they've got X, Y, and Z that they did to their home, and the $800,000 didn't have it. And this is what the market is doing. It's just confidence. Confidence comes from what you know. Confidence comes from what did you do to get that information and deliver it. So having your MLS set up is part of that system to understanding that that's going to set you up for success. In your MLS, you can go to your tabs and you can move them around. I always go from days on the market, list date, pending date, address, bedroom, bath, square footage, lot, garage. And then there's a tab that says number of offers. That's golden. That's golden. Because if a house sold for more than any other house in the market, and you're like, what the hell? Why? It's not that much different. But if you look at, and this has happened many times, how many offers was on the house? 12 offers. There you have it. That's why. Because somebody said, nope, I'm going to go way above just so I can win these 12 offers out. Bottom line, that's what it does. And if it doesn't make sense, one little thing like that will make you be like, okay, that's it. That's why they got that price. So it's understanding that once you have all that information in front of you, comps are your best friend. Comps are absolutely your best friend. They tell the best story. or they tell the worst story, depending on what your clients want, right? And so if you have that system in place along with your comp criteria, along with your MLS system, and along with you not being lazy, you're gonna win those listing appointments and you're gonna win that buyer too. So in an appraisal report, I just wanna say this. In an appraisal report, the main thing that causes the biggest adjustment to give your clients the value is condition. There's a condition rating from C1 through C6. And this is important because when you're looking at your client's home and the condition that it's in, if there's upgrades, if it looks good, if it feels good, if it's clean, and they done some counter stuff, maybe not even cabinets, maybe if they even just put new counters, painted the cabinets, new flooring, their condition automatically is gonna be up. And it's important to understand that because pricing our client's home isn't just about what's going on in the market. Pricing our client's home is also about what your client's home looks like and feels like, okay? So understanding that the condition of a home is going to bring the appraisal value up to where your clients need it to close. Does that make sense? Yeah. Because that's the biggest adjustment. If you go in an appraisal report, you'll look at the condition and you'll see $100,000 adjustments, $75,000 adjustments. Those are the deal breakers. So it's important to tell your clients that you think their home is worth this much because they did X, Y, and Z, or you don't think that they will get this price because compared to this home, they didn't have the floorings done, they don't have the bathroom done, or they don't have the kitchen counters done, or they didn't do the recessed lighting. Because it's our job to bring our clients to reality, and it's our job to be successful with that. We are the professionals, and if we stand on ours, but if we stand on it with the correct data and the correct information, then we're delivering ourselves as confident and they're gonna listen to us. The grid. So when your clients have ADUs or a garage that's like a 3-car garage compared to 2-car garages, or when they have pools, those are the things that you're gonna tell your client is gonna add value. The things that don't add value are hardscaping, landscaping, a new fence. People like to think like, I've got a new fence, my house is worth $50,000 more, and it's telling them that it's the bigger ticket stuff, like the ADUs and the garages and the pools that are gonna add more value. But the little things don't, the fences don't. The hardscaping, landscaping doesn't add much value. So if you're telling your clients what to put their money into, if they ask you, hey, I have $75,000 to spare, what's the best way to put that money? You're telling them into their kitchen and baths, right? Rather than a fence or landscaping, things like that. And since I'm talking about advocating, I wanted to place this in here because it's really important to me. I really want to stress the fact that when you have clients, buyers in particular, please read their appraisals. It's part of our job. And whether we think that it is or it isn't, it is. It's part of our job because we want a deal to go through. We're not going to break the deal, right? But also, is your client overpaying, and do we care that they're overpaying? Because we don't know this, but at the end of the day, our client pays $800,000 for a house. We let them. We're like, I'm getting my check. They go to refi, and their house isn't worth $800,000. That refi is not going through. And so it's important for us to understand that we want our clients to get a house, but do we want them to overpay for it? Also, we want our clients to get a house, but do we want a market to be undervalued just because it's in a Black or Latin neighborhood? Right? So either way, it's important to read an appraisal because it's advocating for your client. That's part of the process, is advocating for your client. So when you read an appraisal report, a neighborhood section in the appraisal report tells you if it's increasing or decreasing in value. Every appraisal has that checkbox. You can't turn it in without checking it. So if it shows that it's an increasing market, there should be adjustments in the grid to the comparables that are sold more than 3 months up. So say if a comp sold for $750,000 6 months ago and the market is increasing, then there should be an increase in price to that comp. If it's decreasing, you should see a negative adjustment there, and if it's stable, you shouldn't see anything. And if your client has, if that house has an ADU or extra garage or a pool, you should see some type of adjustment if the market supports it, which it does. For pools, kind of sometimes. Not in places like Oakland, it won't. And then the improvement section, where I was talking about the condition, that's going to be your biggest adjustment. And those are the key areas in an appraisal report you'll have to pay attention to. And then this is my listing agents, keep your photos on the MLS, okay? It's important because if you don't keep the photos on the MLS, you can't have comps to go off of, right? So telling your clients, I understand you want privacy. However, Zillow automatically takes it off. Zillow does. It does now. They take it off. When a house sells, you go back and look up, what it sold for. It'll tell you what it sold for, but the pictures are no longer on there. But keep the photos on the MLS because comps are our best friends. They tell us stories, and we use those to guide us. And if there's no pictures, we can't tell our client why this house sold for $800,000. How many people have had clients tell them to take the photos off the MLS? Yeah. And it's a hard one. You don't want to tell them no, but at the same time, it's our duty as professionals to say, hey, this is how we do our job. And this is how we got you where you needed to be by looking at other data. So it's important that you help us keep that. And, we're keeping them on the MLS, but Zillow takes it off. Okay. And then a trick about this is if you're looking at a comp that you really need to use for your clients and you're trying to get an idea, a lot of the YouTube videos are actually still on the internet. So if you type in the address and you just keep going down on Google or go to the second page, you'll see the branded media from the listing video and stuff still on there. So you'll still be able to see that information. But just don't tell your clients that. So it's the end now, and please, comps make us better agents. They make us better advocates, and so it's important that we keep this advocacy going and that we don't be lazy, do our job, look through the comps, read through the actual MLS listing, and bring the confidence to our clients and guide them in the best way that we can. So now, if you guys have any questions, I am open. Yeah.
Do you guys take unpermitted ADUs into consideration?
ADUs? Yeah, absolutely. So that's actually a good question. So a lot of people think because something is not permitted in a home that it won't count. And that's far from being real, because I don't go to the county to get permits. Like, I don't get paid enough to do that. And quite frankly, a lot of appraisers don't. If we go into the ADU and it feels real good, the workmanship is good, it's a really nice, building, and we don't feel like it's any kind of health and safety issues, we'll absolutely count it, and it'll add value, especially if the market is saying it adds value. So our job as appraisers is to look at market reaction. If the house was on the market for a certain amount of days and we realize, and it went pending in like 10 days, and we realize that it is pending a little higher than other sales, then market reaction to that was pretty positive. So it's gonna add some kind of value. So yes, if it's unpermitted, we add value as long as it's not health and safety issued. And the same goes for basements or in addition, like a sunroom or something that was added but still has heating and cooling. If it's not permitted, we don't care too much. Just as long as we know there's positive market reaction to it, we'll add that square footage.
I've noticed homes that, like especially in tract neighborhoods, they would have that bedroom that was not changed into bedrooms as a loft, so it would be comparable based on square footage. Could you still use that? I guess because it's not an exact bedroom count versus the,
If it was a loft instead,
yeah.
it would just be counted as a loft. It won't be counted as a bedroom. Is that what you're asking?
Well, is it considered? Could you use that as a comparable because the square footage matched model?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, yeah. A lot of the times those are model matches, except it has a extra bedroom, the one that doesn't have the loft, but it's absolutely, and a lot of the times they're just model matches with the loft.
So let's say that home that the client's buying is a 3-bedroom plus the loft, so it could have been a 4. The comparable that is available, exact model match, it's a 4-bedroom. Obviously priced higher. Is that considered something you could use as a comp, the 4-bedroom?
You can absolutely use it as a comp. Yeah, you can use a 4-bedroom as a comp, a 3-bedroom, it doesn't matter. Just as long as everything else aligns, like it's within a certain amount of square footage, age, things like that. But by what you're saying is they're model matches. One is just has a loft and the other just has the extra bedroom. That is still considered the number one comp we can use as a comparable of saying this is where your price lands.
Like, so I have clients that gutted out the house completely and are redoing it but without permits. So like, if an appraiser comes in, would they value that less than a house that was done with permits? Like, could they ask for a permit card when going through the house? I mean, like, I know you said that, you know, if it looks fine, it's okay, but can you really compare the value to a house that's unpermitted the same as a house that has, you know, been done more legitimately? Like, is there a percentage that you
That's a good question. I'm just thinking like a whole house is being built without permits.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
They haven't said anything yet, so I know.
That's interesting. So yes, so it all depends, right? I can't not value it if I go in there and it feels perfectly fine. So, I mean, if the whole house is not done with permits, it obviously has to be disclosed. So that might affect market value. So if it affects market value, I have to acknowledge that. And I might end up appraising it lower because it's about market value. Buyers are big on permits. So if a buyer knows this was built recently and it's disclosed that no permits at all were for the whole thing, like plumbing, electrical, all that stuff, that's gonna be a market reaction, more than likely. So I would have to pay attention to that. Now, if something in the same neighborhood sold for $500,000, that might sell for like, I don't know, $410 or something. It just all depends. It's a kind of a gray area. So I can still value it as long as it feels good and it has heating source and cooling source and, you know, everything else that needs to be a habitable home. But I have to look at market reaction to the buyers as well.
Just to piggyback off of his question, so is that a question that an appraiser would ask? Is this permitted? Like, would you ask a listing or buyer's agent that question?
I would only ask it if something doesn't feel right to me,
Okay.
if I'm being quite honest. If I go in the house and it just doesn't feel right, I'm like, is this permitted or like not? Like what I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Like, is there a structural issue? Like, why is this not feeling too good? But if it's pretty much something that is, you know, it feels good, it's not any different to me, I'm not gonna stress too much about it.
Okay, another question. I just wanted to get a little bit of clarity on what you mentioned. You said that appraisers adjust for square footage and not the bed and bath. So, and the no double dipping part, right? So if a homeowner converts an existing area to an additional bedroom or bathroom and not changing the square footage, so basically not an addition, but just conversion, right? Does that not count as additional change in value? Or?
But, so an additional bathroom does change value, it'll add value.
Oh, okay.
Bathrooms add value,
A
yeah,
conversion, not an addition.
exactly.
But it is
Exactly.
technically a plus.
If it's not an addition, then square footage is the same. So you're not getting any value from square footage. You would just be getting a value from the bathroom.
Oh, okay.
You know,
Got it.
and if there wasn't a new bathroom, just a bedroom, you would just be getting extra bedroom because you didn't add to the square footage.
So just one or
Yeah,
the other is basically what it sounds like?
correct.
Oh,
Yes.
got it.
Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else have questions? Yes.
Say somebody paid 800K for a house, right?
Mm-hmm.
The appraisal came to 700K. But on that house, you had like 16 offers.
Mm-hmm.
We put that as a point saying like, there were multiple offers, like on 2 digits. So can we get the appraisal value up? In that
Okay. A house sold for 700,000, but is it like out of the range?
purchase price is 800,000.
Mm-hmm.
The appraisal report is at 700,000. But
Oh.
we got 16 offers on that house.
Yeah.
What should I do as a buyer's agent?
Yeah. If an appraisal comes down, so you can look at the report and you can see if there's any discrepancies, like if the appraiser didn't do something right, you can try to get the value up. But if they have all their I's dotted, T's crossed, the appraiser, and there's not much value he can come up, then the appraisal would just come low and either your client make up the difference or deal is done or seller
So
sells less.
short, number of offers does not really matter on appraisal, right?
Not to a lender, especially not to a lender. A lender does not want to lend on a house that is not worth that much and it's not supported, because if it falls into default, the lender will be losing.
Yeah, in this case, I had my buyer put down 50% as a down payment. That's
Mm-hmm.
why we were good. But like, at that point, I did not know the answers.
Oh, yeah. No, kind of the deal would be shot just depending on how the seller wants to proceed. But it's good to know how many offers, and I can say that's why it came in at that. But I would say I'm not coming in at that value because there's nothing to support it. And as an appraiser, the lender wants you to bracket everything and support it. And if I do support it without support, I will get in trouble. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anybody else have questions about the process? Yes.
So instead of a radius, it's better to map out when you're pulling your comps.
Draw. Yes. I draw it. Yep, exactly. Yeah, because if you look on the maps, you'll see there's square neighborhoods, right? Except for like the Oakland Hills, it's like blah, 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 blah. You just gotta find your little, But most of the times neighborhoods are just square. So you'll know to stick within that square. And then there's some neighborhoods where you can go off like over a little bit. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with Fremont, but they have like Sundale, and then there's like South Sundale or something like that. Those are pretty much the same neighborhood, even though it's going over a busy road. I just kind of map those in together. Are you from the Fremont area, San Jose area? Oh, yeah. And that market is pretty the same. So I always put both of those together. But that's why it's important to also do research and know what neighborhoods are comparable to other neighborhoods, so you can add that to your comp criteria if you really need to. So even if you have to draw 2 different squares, you can, but it's only if you know exactly, like if you grew up in this neighborhood and you know the schools are comparable and everything else is comparable, and then you also see that in this neighborhood homes are going for 600 to 7 and that neighborhood is the same, then you can absolutely combine them. Yeah.
When you cross over like freeways or like a main street and stuff like that, and it's already a different city, like let's just say I sold in San Francisco, Alameda Street, right behind it's Daly City, right? So I recall that appraiser collectively took some Daly City, some San Francisco, but it was more because it was more of a similar, kind of like what you're talking about right now. That would be a okay scenario.
The kind of raises a little flags because San Francisco is a very active city.
Okay.
So I myself wouldn't go into Daly City.
Okay.
I would just expand more in the city because it'll also raise a flag for the lender or the reviewer, because San Francisco, it's not a rural area. And so like my house that I had the appraisal, the bias appraisal on, our duplex was in Oakland, the Nobe area, like on Alcatraz. He went into Berkeley, but like the worst part of Berkeley, and took some comparables from there that were near like cell towers and stuff. But Oakland is very active. There's no reason to go to Berkeley when you're in an Oakland neighborhood. So that is, I mean, you know, every appraiser is different, but I like to be very, yeah. So I don't know, that seems like a little red flag for me.
Piggybacking on that, since Daly City and San Francisco, those are totally two different counties. So I think, like, you know, just taking San Francisco County would be more precise on that.
Yeah, and San Francisco is just really active, so I wouldn't even go over there. But you will find, and I'm not trying to put the appraisal profession down, it's a very old profession, and they have very old tendencies. So you'll find a lot of like bad appraisals out there. Yeah. So just FYI. Yeah. Yes?
Do you take like livability into account? Say like one property has their laundry inside the closet, just ease of use, and the other property that's a comp has their laundry in the basement. You just go outside, read it up and down.
No, because market reaction, I don't know. Somebody might pay nothing for it. Somebody might pay $1,000 extra for it. I can't tell market reaction. We can only take that into consideration if like there's true buyer market reaction. I don't think there's true buyer market reaction to that. Yeah. Just because also too, it's very common for washers and dryers to be in a basement. It's more common than not. Like people have that. So, yeah.
How important is it to meet with the appraisers? And what should agents do to prepare to meet with them?
My honest...
On both sides, because now you do appraisals, but you also consult.
Yeah, no. And so I don't mind not meeting you guys because I don't like to talk. Like I have to measure the house. You know, I got to measure, put the numbers in. I got to pay attention. I got to take pictures of what lenders want me to take pictures of. If I'm talking, I forget, right? So me, and honestly though, and I'm not trying to toot my own horn, you don't have to worry about me messing up an appraisal, right? And also me meeting you is not going to make me put it higher, right? Because like I have a system, right? But I would say for other appraisers, I was going to say,
What would you do with other appraisers?
I would meet other appraisers. I would meet other appraisers because let me tell you, they're old, they don't have a system, and they don't know what they're doing. They don't. And that's the kind of like I think I'm not liked too much in the appraisal profession because I actually, you know, we're suing an appraiser. My husband and I are suing an appraiser, and the appraisal world is so small. But the whole like appraisal profession knows about me and what I'm doing, and the uproar that it's causing within the profession. So, you know, and they're really old, and they think that I'm calling everybody a racist when I'm not, right? And so it's funny because. Not saying all of them are racist, but a lot of them just don't know. And they're still doing things like back in like 1989. Like that's their system. But that system is way different now. So I would say you meet with an appraiser and you give them your comps.
Okay. What else can we provide, you know, as far as like, you know, representing the seller and making sure that we meet with the buyer's appraiser, or if we're representing the buyer, we're meeting with that appraiser for our buyer, not just comps. Like what else have you seen that works that we suggest?
If there's stuff that's been done, letting them know what's been done. I have what's called an appraisal packet. If you put your name, your email on a paper, I will send you an appraisal packet, and it's basically what you put together to give an appraiser. It talks about all of the work that was done to the home over the years, and the time frame, and it tells you like to highlight what comparables that you're looking at, because a lot of appraisers, but I would tell you, the main thing is comps though. The main things you'll provide them is comps, because the comps that you're providing are probably going to try to support your value, right? Rather than them using some other comps.
And I'll tell you guys right now, it's easier
Yes.
Get that value where you want it to be before they actually apply the report.
Yeah, I would say be very proactive and let the appraiser know that you're proactive, because that's going to make them second guess as they're doing the report.
Some appraisers come with tool belts, so you gotta be prepared. They will start doing inspections and call a lot of things out and could kill deals.
Yeah, and that's crazy.
So I think that's one of the other things too is what to look out for first-time home buyers, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's like, what do you look out for that call a deal out and put in the report that goes to underwriters? What are some of those things? The most common things.
Yeah, the most common things that actually.
That they could prevent before an appraiser fails.
Common things is railings for stairs. So like some homes don't have health and safety like railings on the stairs, and if you don't have that, it's like put it on or don't. And railings for some people, it's like, well, that's a big deal. Like they got to pay for it. They got to get somebody out there. That has been one of the main things that gets called out. Oh, I will say this. Another thing that as a buyer's agent you should do is you should make sure that the listing agent has CO and smoke detector up and the water heater bracing is double strapped. Because if I go there and none of that is done, I have to report it to the lender because they want pictures of it. If I don't have pictures of it, that means it doesn't exist. And if I tell them it doesn't have these two things, they will send me back out there for a trip fee of like $200. And then who pays for it? The buyer does. Even though it's the seller's responsibility, the buyer pays for it. So
Here's the trick with that. Go to Home Depot after this and go fill your trunk up.
yeah.
The plug in one so you can plug it in and take it back with you and go to
Right.
You didn't hear that.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. And then also making sure that the electricity and the water is on. Because if it's not on, they'll send it back to me.
To save our buyers some money, would you recommend getting an inspection first before an appraisal? That way we have the report. If there's something
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't look at inspection reports, but you guys know what you need to negotiate on. Yes,
Quick
absolutely.
thing to hit on that is if there's anything questionable, take a picture and send it to your lender. If you're thinking or questioning
Yeah.
anything, like they're gonna know what gets called out. So you're like, hey, well, let's get called out. Hey, well, let's get called out. Hey, and the most common thing that I've seen is peeling paint or bare wood. If there's ever bare wood or peeling paint, like just go over there, the thing real quick, get permission from the seller to represent the
Yeah.
buyer before the appraiser comes.
And that's more for like FHA. Like conventional peeling paint, they'll be like, okay, but FHA. Yeah, they'll do that. Yeah. Yes.
How much does lot size affect like appraisal?
Anything over 1,000 square feet of it, I adjust for. So if it's at 5,000 and the comp is at 7,000, it gets adjusted for. It just kind of depends on the market, but it's anywhere between like, if that size difference would probably be like 10,000 or so. That's not going to be the biggest one because, like I said, most neighborhoods have conforming lot sizes. Unless you start going into like the hills of somewhere, like the Oakland and Berkeley hills, those lot sizes vary. So you're going to see like a big adjustment in those. But for the most part, most neighborhoods have conforming lot sizes because the zoning requires it to be certain size. Yeah.
The last question I have is the current appraisals that you've done right now, do you see this market climbing or going up, or how do you see it?
It's varying. So I do see Oakland declining. I'm not gonna lie. Oakland I see has been declining. The average median sale price is declining. Days on the market is increasing. But then the Berkeley market, I just had one where it was $1 million over listing. The Berkeley market is so crazy right now. It's not even decreasing. Like it's not even a thing. It's going wild. 2-bed, 1-baths are selling for like 900,000, $1 million. It's with lot sizes. Most of the lot sizes down there in that area are like between 3,000 and 4,000. So it's Berkeley's bananas.
Why would you say, like, what do you think is a catalyst for the Berkeley market? Just bananas.
Location is one of them because it's so easy to get to San Francisco or Silicon Valley due to the transportation. Also, UC Berkeley is there, so we're also seeing like, you also see an influx of people constantly. Also, I would say they don't do new builds, like they don't have new builds. So places where there's new builds, the market can be a little more stable or a slight decline or whatever, but Berkeley barely has new builds. So with it being like a very stable housing market, not building too much more, I mean, the demand is just so high. And then also too, so you've got people coming from Silicon Valley where you don't get nothing out of there for like $1 million to $2 million, but you go over to Berkeley or, I don't know, different areas, you're gonna get more house in that price range for your dollar. And we're seeing a lot of Silicon Valley come out here. Silicon Valley is bananas. So you'll have a fixer in San Jose sell for like $1 million. Right? But you come out here to Berkeley, pay $1 million or a little more, and you're gonna have a house move-in ready to go, and you got a little more lot size, square footage. So Silicon Valley people are coming out here and driving our prices up. Mm-hmm. Any more questions?
Question.
Yeah.
About the double strap, someone told me, or your friend told me last week, that it had to be like wrapped around.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is that a thing? Like not necessarily double strap, but wrapped around the whole thing. Is that something new that I've noticed?
Wrapped around the whole thing.
Right.
I know, I mean, okay, so there's 2 straps, one like mid and then here and then around.
Yeah.
But
Saying that it was a new thing that it needed to be wrapped around. And I was questioning, like,
I can't call it, I don't know. I just know double straps, as long as I know that they're tightly there, I see it. And it's sometimes it's either like, it has the straps and it's on the wall, like it's on the wall, or or it's like double strapped with like the Velcro stuff. So like the new builds are using the big thick Velcro things, but I don't know exactly what he's referring to. Yeah.
Was it on the corner?
yeah, it was on one.
And still needed a whole wrap?
Yeah, he said that it was needed to be double strapped, like, and wrapped.
And wrap? Yeah, no, I don't. Just double strapped. Yeah, double strapped would be sufficient enough. Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay. Thank you guys so much. Thank you. Put this here.